Hello everyone, my name is Brendan, and in today's video we're going to discuss what a CMMC readiness assessment is and why you should have one performed. Alright, so what exactly is a CMMC readiness assessment? It is a pre-assessment that your organization should conduct or have conducted before the actual CMMC assessment is performed by a certified third-party assessor organization, which is also known as a C3 PAO. Now, keep in mind, a C3 PAO is the only type of organization that can award your organization a CMMC certificate, which allows you to go in contract with the DoD or primes that work for the DoD. So, who needs a CMMC readiness assessment? Even though a readiness assessment isn't required, I highly recommend that every organization out there that is trying to get a CMMC certificate goes and performs a CMMC readiness assessment prior to going and having one of these actual CMMC assessments conducted by a C3 PAO. This is to ensure that your organization's CMMC assessment goes smoothly and you obtain that CMMC certificate after the first assessment with the C3 PAO. And the goal of one of these CMMC assessments or readiness assessments is to ensure that your organization meets all of the CMMC practice and process requirements for that CMMC level that your organization is seeking. So, the person or group that is performing your organization's CMMC readiness assessment should go ahead and assess your organization's current cybersecurity program in accordance with the CMMC requirements for that level that your organization is seeking. This is so that any practice and process requirement that might be missing can be identified and remediated before your organization goes and has that actual assessment performed. So, when should you consider having one of these CMMC readiness assessments performed for your organization? I recommend that the CMMC readiness assessment is conducted no less than 6 months before the actual CMMC assessment is conducted. This is because if there are any findings from the readiness assessment, your organization will want as much time as possible to go ahead and remediate those findings. Now, 6 months may seem like a long time, but let's think of it this way. Your organization needs to demonstrate cybersecurity maturity. That is the goal of the CMMC. So, this means that you can't just go ahead and create a policy a week or even a few months before the actual CMMC assessment. That policy needs to be created and it needs to be engraved into your organization's culture. It needs to be adhered to throughout the entire organization. So, with this in mind, you want to perform that CMMC readiness assessment in advance so that findings like policies, procedures, and other documentation can be implemented and adopted throughout your entire organization and become part of that culture. That way, you meet the requirements of the CMMC. Now, who can perform a CMMC readiness assessment? And just about anyone could go ahead and perform one of these CMMC readiness assessments, including yourself. Uh, but you want to keep in mind that the person or group of people that are performing the CMMC readiness assessment for your organization should be experienced with the CMMC framework and the required practices and processes for the CMMC level that your organization is seeking. This is because an actual CMMC assessment requires 100% compliance with the practices and the processes for that CMMC level. So, if your organization is missing a required policy or a practice is not implemented correctly, it could actually result in your organization failing that CMMC assessment. And because of how rigorous the CMMC assessment is, I highly recommend that you hire a professional to perform your readiness assessment. And these professionals, which are known as registered provider organizations or RPOs, they'll come in and they'll perform a CMMC readiness assessment for your organization. RPOs are specifically trained on the CMMC framework and the CMMC ecosystem, so they have a better understanding of the requirements than other consultants that aren't RPOs or RPs. And that's why I recommend that you partner with an RPO, because they understand what the CMMC is asking for and they'll help you achieve your CMMC assessment. Now, the CMMC accreditation body has created a marketplace where your organization can go and search for a CMMC accredited RPO that's right for your organization. I've provided a link in the description of this video for the CMMC marketplace, so you can go check it out. Now let's take a look at what a CMMC readiness assessment should consist of, regardless if you're performing the readiness assessment yourself or partnering with an RPO. So first, you need to determine what CMMC level your organization is seeking. Each level has different requirements, and you want to ensure that you are assessing your organization's cybersecurity program with the practice and process requirements for the CMMC level that your organization is seeking. After determining the CMMC level that your organization is seeking, you're going to want to go ahead and perform the actual assessment. And you'll want to identify what requirements are implemented completely and what requirements are either missing or only partially implemented. When performing this assessment, either yourself or the RPO that you've partnered with should use the CMMC assessment methodology. This methodology requires at least 2 of the 3 different assessment methods be used to determine that your organization meets the requirements for a practice or a process. The 3 assessment methods are by interviewing, examination, and testing. And we'll go ahead and discuss the CMMC assessment methodology more in depth in a future video. So now, either yourself or the RPO your organization is partnered with will need to review your organization's documentation to ensure that it meets all of the requirements for that level that you're seeking. Documentation plays a major role in the CMMC. If you're going for a CMMC certification of level 2 or higher, you will need a policy for every domain family, and you will need to document the procedure that is used for every CMMC practice your organization is required to implement. And on top of this, you will also need to have a system security plan, or SSP, which describes the overview of the system requirements for your organization. And this SSP also needs to explain how the controls are implemented. Now, let's say you or an RPO finds a practice or process requirement that is either not implemented or only partially implemented. What happens now? Whoever is performing the readiness assessment should record all findings in what is known as a plan of action and milestone, or a POAM, and the POAM should include the requirement that is missing, a plan to efficiently and effectively remediate the missing requirement, and set milestones for those missing requirements. Now, once the readiness assessment has been concluded, your organization will want to immediately begin working on the POAMs and remediate any findings from the assessment. Now, keep in mind that all requirements should be built into your organization's culture. So make sure to give yourself enough time to implement the practice or process before you schedule your actual CMMC assessment with a C3PAO. Well, that's going to do it for this video. If you have any questions, please leave them down in the comments section. If you enjoyed this video, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. Remember to keep an eye out for future videos where we will continue to discuss the CMMC in its entirety. If you would like to see a specific video, please leave your recommendation down in the comments section. Thank you. Have a great day.